Remember to share on social media, #YYPI is so important to you and what you're loving about today. You'll find us on Twitter and Instagram.
We now welcome Dee Bleakley back to the stage to tell us why change is now here.
Thank you. Listen, it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here this afternoon. I don't think I've been on the stage yet, but I might have been. Listen, the two hosts, I know how difficult a job it is to do a hosting gig, and I've seen these guys behind stage. They've been amazing today. Can we get a massive round of applause for Murray and Julie? Listen, guys, before I explain why this is behind me, I very quickly just want to give you a quick intro, just so you know who I am, where I'm from, and why I'm standing here in front of you. My name is Dee. Dee isn't my real name, okay? It's a nickname I got given when I was about 6 years old, and it just stuck. So feel free, if you're chatting to me, just to call me Dee. I prefer it's more informal. You've also maybe gathered by this point I have a slightly strange, muddled accent. If you are good with accents, well, I'm not from Scotland. I do live here, but I'm from Belfast originally. Anyone from Belfast? One. Right at the front. If we have a conversation later, we probably went to the same primary school or something like that. Anyone been to Belfast? Here we go. A few more. A few of you might have been to the newish Titanic Centre. If you have, some of you maybe know what that is. If you don't, it's a beautiful building. You can go and find out all about how the Titanic was built, how it was made, because back in Belfast, you see, we're really, really proud of that ship that we built that sank. That was us. So yes, I am originally from Belfast, and my official job title these days, I am a motivational speaker, right? And I hate telling people I'm a motivational speaker, because when I tell people I'm a motivational speaker, they tend to vomit a little bit in their own mouth. They think it's going to be really cheesy and really corny. I'm going to say things like, I don't know, reach for the stars, all right, or climb every mountain. I just really love S Club 7. Some of you don't even know who they are. Showing my age. But I tried to incorporate a little bit of psychology, and I actually travel kind of all over Scotland, down in England as well. I know there's a few schools here that I've worked in today as well. And as a speaker, one of the things I like to do into schools when I get there is I like to figure out how posh the school is that I'm speaking to. A few of you are laughing, that's not a good sign. But it's one of my favorite things to do, and as you can imagine, as a speaker, I travel a lot. I have been in some really high-end, some really kind of posh academic, sometimes private schools, and I've also been in Falkirk, so I kind of know the different. That was a joke, all right. That was a joke, all right. I love Falkirk, all right. Sorry, excuse me. I live in Falkirk. No, I do. I love Falkirk. Falkirk became kind of a second home to me when I moved over from Belfast. And if you haven't been to Falkirk, you should definitely go and check out the Kelpies, big horse heads. Some of you know what I'm talking about, if I say the big horse heads. And actually, over lockdown, I always talk about the Kelpies became my little hamster wheel. Do you remember that early part of lockdown when we all got 1 hour of exercise? Okay, every day I would go for a little walk, a little run around the Kelpies. And actually, it's kind of one of the first points I want to bring up, because we've had this really bizarre couple of years, and it's absolutely amazing to be in a venue like this. I mean, look around you, look how many people there is, okay? For a lot of us, okay, this is going to be the first time that we're back, and it's amazing. But if you think back to that first period, and be honest, by the way, who in the last few weeks, or maybe months, especially if you had exams, be honest, right? How many of you have said, either in your head or out loud to someone privately, I wouldn't mind a wee bit of lockdown again? Right, be honest, right? Okay, yeah, see, it's a thing. There is a part of us can look back at it now and think, oh, you know, lockdown wasn't that bad. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I want to take you back right to the start of lockdown in March 2020. That's the reason, oh, my thing, there we go, not yet, there. This is a symbol that I think a lot of people are familiar with. Some of you may know the name of it, the yin and yang. A lot of people don't really fully appreciate what this symbol is all about. And this is a symbol that really helped me at the start of that kind of weird part of COVID when everything was a bit uncertain. What the white represents in the yin and yang is actually, because when you ask people, they'll say things like, oh, I think it's about love and hate or peace and war. What the white really represents is, it's a peace, but it's also like a calmness, a contentment. It also kind of looks and stands for something that's predictable, kind of order, I guess. And the black, of course, is the opposite. Black representing unpredictability and chaos in a way. Now, you can see there's a little black dot in the white part. And that is there to show you that no matter how much you think you're in control of your life, and I'm sure back in the start of March 2020, we all had little plans for maybe Easter holidays or maybe even summer holidays, That little black dot is there to remind you that at any point in your life, chaos can emerge. And it could be, a phone call at 2 in the morning. It could be some sort of financial difficulty you're having. It could be an illness. There's lots of things that can create that black space. But equally, okay, if you're ever in a position where you're living in the black area and your life feels a bit chaotic, you may be going through some difficulties. We've heard from a few speakers and some of the amazing performances of some of the difficult things that life throws up. That little white dot there is there to remind you that at any point in your life, you can cling to a little bit of contentment. Now, in the most extreme cases, this could just be having family and friends around you. It could be a roof over your head. It could be a hot meal. But even in the most extreme cases, that little white dot is there to remind you that there are things that you can cling to. Now, there's a really good, actually, phrase that goes with this. And some of you may have came across this. It's an old Chinese proverb, "This too shall pass." And if you can remember this too shall pass, it doesn't matter what side you're in. It's a really good reminder that things change. If you're in the white part and life's going well and things are amazing, if you just tell yourself, well, this too shall pass, it means that you'll appreciate it more because someday it might not be as good as it is right now. And equally, if you're in the black part, this too shall pass means that no matter what you're going through and how difficult things are, it'll get better. Things will change. And largely speaking, that is what that symbol is. It's a symbol for change and how life constantly changes. Now, all the things that you've done this year, okay, you've been change makers, you've driven change this year, and that's been amazing to see. So I want to continue chatting about change. I'm going to very quickly put this up, and I just want you to read it quickly, don't think about it too much, and tell me what that says. Okay. Someone said change is nowhere. How was you? Right, some of you are saying change is nowhere. Some of you are maybe saying change is now here. And some of you, maybe some of the Highland schools, are saying, change, aye, snow here. But if I do that, that makes it a little bit more clear. Now, there's not a right or wrong to that, okay? That's just an example of mindset or perception, how two different people can look at the exact same thing and see it slightly differently. And this is a really important part because what you've done this year and how you perceive it is going to be really integral to how much success not only you've had this year, but what can you learn from this year? What can you advance from this year? Now, one thing, if you've had one of my presentations before, you have to get used to are my amazing drawings, okay? So you're going to have a couple today, but here's the first one, okay? This is you, all right? This represents you, and I'm just going to put something around you at the minute, a little blue squiggly line. And what that little blue squiggly line represents is your comfort zone. I was in a school recently, and I asked the pupils, what do you think the blue line is? And somebody said a puddle of tears, which don't know what they were going through. But it's meant to be your comfort zone. What we know about your comfort zone, everybody has a comfort zone. It's an amazing place to be. But what we know from psychology about the comfort zone is if you're in a comfort zone for too long, you tend to get quite bored, sometimes irritated or frustrated. Okay, now, I've talked about this for years, like long before COVID, I was always talking about comfort zones. But in March 2020, we all got to take part in a national experiment called lockdown, where we all got to test this theory, right? Put your hand up. How many of you got bored during COVID? At some point, lockdown, you got bored? Yeah, pretty much everybody, right? Some of us got bored after a few months. I was a few weeks. Some of people I know got bored after like a couple of hours. So we all had our different thresholds for how quickly we got bored. And what it really highlighted to me was no matter who you are, maybe you think, well, I'm quite happy to sit in that comfort zone. We have this like inherent sort of a part of us as a human to want to do more, to want to get more out of life. And outside of our comfort zone, we have something called a growth zone. Now, your growth zone is an amazing place to be because all the best stuff in your life will happen in that growth zone. And you this year, by being part of YPI, you've all pushed yourself out of your comfort zone and you've found success. Okay, but as you guys will all know, if you want to move out of your comfort zone, that will naturally make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. All right? And I'm sure there was times in the year where your leadership skills were tested, your resilience was tested, you've had to work with people, it's been stressful. And this is, I guess, for me, one of life's great catch-22s. If you want to find real success in life, you have to go to your comfort zone, right? Unless you win the lottery, which is highly unlikely, okay? You'll need to do things that are difficult. Now, a lot of us know this. This is common sense. But common sense isn't always common practice. Right? I'll say that again. Common sense isn't always common practice. Just because you know this doesn't mean you live by it. So it's something to remember, and it's something to advance ourselves, not just from this year, but beyond. But how do we do that? We have to do it on a more regular basis, because if we can, what happens over time is that we grow as a person, we have a new comfort zone, but that only encourages you to keep growing out of that and become even more successful. So take this little part of this year, what you've done with YPI, but keep it going, keep being that generation change that so many of us and the speakers have talked about today. How to do this? Well, it really comes down to you as an individual on a more daily basis. Okay, you're about to get another one of my peaches here, okay? That's another one of my D. Bleakley specialists here, okay? That was, thank you for that. I got one bit of laughter. A round of applause for my doodles. Thank you. It's really bad. Okay, so when it comes to humans, what we know is that what we tell ourselves on a regular basis actually ends up influencing how we act and what we do. Okay, a lot of psychology behind this, but it's a more regular thing, and also it can work both ways. All right? So if you were to wake up every single day and you tell yourself things like, I can't be bothered, I'm no good at that, that stresses me out, I'm going to fail, then over time, you actually help yourself to be stressed. You help yourself to feel like you can't be bothered. You help yourself to fail. Now, what I'm also not saying, okay, is that if you just say you wanted to be really good at a subject in school, let's say, I don't know, French, right? What it doesn't mean is if you wake up every single day and look at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm amazing at French, that you'll suddenly be like fluent in French or become French. That would be ridiculous. What you need to do is have that thought, well, you know what, I want to get better at French. I will get better at French. I can get better at French. And over a longer period of time, I can almost guarantee you'll try a little bit harder. And if you try a little bit harder, I can guarantee you that you will get a little bit better. But it becomes part of your daily sort of thinking process. There's a great quote from Henry Ford, who once said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. You know, for a long time now, my kind of philosophy on life has just been that it's like a big, long corridor of rooms, okay? Another one of my spectaculars. And every room you go in has two doors, a door that you enter and a door that you leave. And when you're in that room, you've got about 24 hours to play in it. Now, when you open a door into a new room, most rooms are pretty similar, because most days are actually pretty similar. As soon as you open that door, you can think about the room you've just been in. In fact, you can think about all the rooms you've been in. You can think about all the things that you did or didn't do, but you can never go back. You can never put any sort of change into the days that you've already passed. And when you realize that, you start to understand that every door you open is in the room that you're in, it's a massive opportunity. And I would argue it's more than an opportunity. It's your responsibility as a young person or as an adult to keep making sure that in every day you're in, you're getting a little bit better at something. You're looking for success. Okay, it doesn't just have to be with school or in sort of a professional capacity. It could be something personal, okay? You could be eating healthier. It could be talking to someone. There's lots of things that you can do on a daily basis that encourage that growth. And if you can do that on a daily basis, you will get so much more success, not only in school, but for the rest of your life as well. Now, again, I know I've mentioned COVID a few times, but this was something that was taken away from us in COVID. And I know that we had a bit of a laugh about COVID, about people wanting lockdown back and doing what's easy, but the truth of the matter is nobody enjoyed it. Nobody wanted to be in there on a full-time basis. If you're in there on a full-time basis, the ability to grow as a person's been taken away from you. And do you know what? Now that we've got the time back, we need to start to think big again. You guys have done so much this year. You've driven change. You've pushed your own boundaries, but you need to keep that going. You need to keep that up. And do you know what, guys? On the theme of COVID, with the greatest of respects to people who did lose loved ones, for the vast majority of us, that wasn't the case. For a lot of us, we got through it pretty unscathed. And my advice to those people, and for most of us, is that when it comes to COVID, tough, right? It happened. It was a thing that you had to live through, right? And you can absolutely, for the rest of your life, if you want to, you can absolutely use COVID and lockdown as a crutch, okay? A reason as to why you maybe didn't get enough from school, or you didn't get more than you could have from school. When you're older, you can look back at it and say to people, I could have done better at school, but I went through school during that whole COVID pandemic thing, and it kind of messed me up a little bit. If you want to do that, you can. Just as long as you're aware that there are people out there who won't do that. Okay? And in fact, there's people that will use it to their strength. There are people out there that will talk about COVID in years to come and go, you know what, I managed to get through school during COVID and that pandemic. If I can do that, this is going to be easy. Okay, they'll use it as a strength, they'll use it as character growth, they'll use it as resilience. And you can absolutely do that, but it's completely your choice. And that's the choice I'd like to leave with you today, because in our lives, they're constantly moving forward, and we need to make sure that we're always able to look at the bigger picture and decide where we want to go for ourselves. Because, guys, all I'm trying to do here in this short time we've got together, I'm trying to get you to understand how much potential you've got. Okay, you've shown so much potential this year, but moving forward, there's even more you can do. And even right now, when I say the word potential, there are some people in this room who are looking at others going, I think he's talking about them, not me. I'm talking about you even more. Everybody has potential until that moment that you decide that you don't. Okay, everybody has potential until you decide that you don't. I don't want you to make that decision. I want you to see yourself as a huge amount of potential and push that forward. I'm going to finish with a little riddle, okay, because I know my time is almost up. This is a riddle I heard a long time ago, but it's always stuck with me, all right? If there are 10 birds in a washing line and 5 of them decide to fly away, how many are left? So you want to say 5, but you know it's a riddle, okay? So it's not 5. There are 10 birds in a washing line, and 5, so 10 in a washing line, 5 decide to fly away. How many are left? 9. Not 9, not 0. Someone said 10. Who said 10? Okay, you. Who are you? Right? Why 10? Well, they're all still alive, but that's not quite where I was going with that, right? You're right, though, there's 10. The reason there's 10 is because 5 birds only decided to fly away. They didn't actually do it, okay? Point being, how many times in your life have you decided you're going to study more? You know, you're going to work harder. You've decided you're going to go to the gym, you're going to eat healthy, you're going to talk to someone. We decide and decide and decide and decide, and very often, none of it happens. Guys, listen, what we've talked about in this last sort of 15 minutes is really, it's positive thinking. And I didn't want to call it positive thinking because it's very cliched of a motivational speaker to come up and talk about positive thinking. But positive thinking is great. It's an amazing starting point, but it means absolutely nothing without some sort of positive action. And my one wish for you guys today is that not just from this year, but this event today, from this afternoon, you take this moment to put a little kind of flag in the ground, a little stake in the ground, and you tell yourself that from this moment forwards, I'm not just going to think about the things I want to do with my life, I'm going to actually act on them as well. And as I said, if you can do that on a regular basis, you will find so much more success for yourself inside of school and outside of it as well. So guys, can I thank you very much for your time? It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure for me to be here today. I'm just going to leave up some details for myself on social media and things like that. I'll be really honest, I have worked in a lot of schools, both pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and I'm sure like a lot of your teachers in here, I've noticed a big difference. And so what I am trying to do at the minute is make myself as available as possible. So if you would like to get in touch about how we could maybe set something up and I can talk to some of the pupils in your school, then please, at the end, I've got a little stall out at the back with my colleague Gary. Please come and speak to either one of us. We'd love to get in touch with you, as many of you as we can. And we've got little brochures as well and give you a little bit of exclusive discount for being here today as well. So there's my plug for this evening. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll leave you back with our hosts. Thank you, guys. Thank you.